Halo, Kimmer, Aharu. That's Gaelic for how are you, by the way. This is Sim0nTrains, or some people might call me Sim0nTrains, and I welcome you to this hotel Q&A. As you can see, while I'm in Scotland, I'm actually staying in a Premier Inn hotel. And I'm going to be answering some of your questions that you've sent in, and there has been some good questions that have been sent in, and some obvious questions, and some lovely ones that I'm going to read right now. So we're going to get started with that. First of all, we're going to start off with two multiple questions, because the first multiple question I got asked from all you lot is, what is your favourite train? Do you have a favourite locomotive for multiple unit? What is your favourite DMU and EMU? And I'm going to be honest with you, even though it's a simple question, it is very hard to answer. So hopefully I'll give the following people who answer this question a shout out now. JD Kirk from Instagram, Emma Causa, Jacob's Rail Adventures, Michael Sebastian Todd, the Trainspotter from Tauranga, hopefully I got that right, Riain Ash's channel, 802107, West London Transport and Wildlife, and Joshua Platt. This is the answer to the question that you gave me about favourite trains. Favourite diesel locomotive, Class 37. Favourite electric locomotive, Class 91. Then it gets tough because I do like some good diesel electric multiple units. I would say my favourite diesel multiple unit will be a Class 185. Just that better of my favourites than the rest. But to be honest, there's a lot of diesel multiple units I do like. And electric multiple units, again, same answer. There's a lot that I do like, but if it comes down to one, I would say the Class 385, so ScotRail. They're my favourite EMUs, even though I do like some other EMUs. And hopefully that does answer your questions to so many people who asked that question. So once again, thank you for JD Kirk from Instagram, Emma Causa, Jacob's Rail Adventures, Michael Sebastian Todd, the Trainspotter from Tauranga, Riain Ash's channel, 802107, West London Transport and Wildlife, and Joshua Platt for that question. So the next question I got asked, which was another multiple question that I'm going to ask, is from Southern Transport 466 Eden, 802107, West London Transport and Wildlife, Joshua Platt, and Riain Ash's channel. And it's another simple question, but it's not an easy answer to give you, to be honest. Which is, favourite station to film at? What is your favourite location for filming trains? What is your favourite station to film at and why? And what is your favourite station in England? I did get asked about some favourite stations in Scotland, but I'll answer them separately because my favourite rail station is actually in England, and it's Northallerton Station on the East Coast Main Line. Because you do get your train speeding through there at 125 miles an hour. And it is a lovely location to film the trains at. And it's a lot of nice long straights as well, so you can see them come in a mile away, but that mile away is quickly to 10 seconds, believe it or not. So hopefully that answers your questions to Southern Transport 466 Eden, 802107, West London Transport and Wildlife, Joshua Platt, and Riain Ash's channel. Now that I've got the multiple questions out the way, like what is your favourite train, what is your favourite railway station, even though they have asked me some railway stations, but they're not like the general railway station I like, it's about time to ask questions from different people who submitted their questions in. And the first YouTuber that got her question in quickly was G Loves Trains. And I will raise my iron brew for getting there first, G. But she's asked me 3 questions, and they're really good questions. First of all, what is your favourite Merseyrail station? Bidston. I do love filming at Bidston Station on the Merseyrail network, because you also get your Transport for Wales Class 150s there as well. But I think of recently there's been some 153s on that line as well, but mainly Class 150 DMUs. So Bidston is my favourite Merseyrail station. Second question he asked, do you want to wear my knickers again? I would love to be in your knickers again, G. Yes, I would love to wear your knickers again. That sounds so perverted. And the final question, 11C. Question that she always wanted to know the answer to. Who calls me Sim0nTrains? And that is a very good question. Because in my video I say, hello there, this is Sim0nTrains. Or some people like to call me Sim0nTrains. And believe it or not, there's actually 2 people that actually call me Sim0nTrains. The first one was Barnabas Junction. He used to call me Sim0nTrains when I come into his live stream. And the second person was Millie Wistanton Junction. She did the same as well. But funny enough, there was actually a third person who actually called me Sim0nTrains because I was watching a live stream called Channel Makers. Channel Makers. And when I came into his live stream, he said Sim0nTrains. And it's like, oh God. So yes, it was basically Millie Wistanton Junction and Barnabas Junction that called me Sim0nTrains. So thank you for your questions, Geno's Trains, and been a pleasure answering them to you. But I do actually have a question for you, G. When's the next time I'll be wearing your knickers? The next question is from Riain Mitchell, and he only asked me one question, but this question is really complicated to answer, and I'll try my best to read this and answer this. So first of all, why does Cross City Trains always class 323s? Why can't they put a class 150 like on the Rugeley Trent Valley to Birmingham line? Why can't those trains have class 323s from Rugeley? Be it just a short journey and class 323s can operate the line like have a class 150 on the Cross City line and the Rugeley line trains, why can't they mix? So that's the question he asked me. There is some simple answers and there is some complicated answers, so I'll try my best to answer this one. First of all, the class 323s have been on the Cross City line since the early 90s. And again, it's just driver familiarisation. It's easier just to have the drivers knowing the same unit on that line, so it's easier to operate the services. Also, before the line was electrified, they did actually have class 150s and class first generation diesel multiple units on that line, so it was actually diesel operated before the class 323s came onto that line and the first generation EMUs. So putting a 150 on the Cross City line these days is just really pointless since the line is electrified. And plus the West Midlands trains don't have any 150s anymore. They're all being cascaded either to Great Western Railway or Northern now. So that's why 150s can't be on the Rugeley to Birmingham services, because we just don't have any. We did used to operate with 170 DMUs with class 153s, but since the line electrified, they've been turned into electric services because they did have this master plan for a Rugeley Trent Valley to London Euston service via Birmingham, but that was an epic fail with 350s. We did have class 323 EMUs on the Chase line between Birmingham and Rugeley on Saturdays only, which there was 2 diagrams each way, so there was 4 workings altogether. But that was only a temporary measure while we were waiting on the Trans-Pennine Express class 350 zeros from Trans-Pennine Express. Once they got cascaded over, the 323s were made redundant on the Chase line, but I think they're still clear to if they need 323s to work on services for that. And why can't they mix? Well, they can mix because on the northern part, on divert days for cross-country service, you can actually have class 220s, class 221 super voyagers and voyagers, and HSTs working services speeding through those stations on diversionary routes. So the line isn't just class 323s, other units do use that line, but that's only if they're diverted, empty stock and so on. But on the other end though, they do mix varieties on that line. I've hopefully answered all your questions, Riain Mitchell, but that is it's a bit complicated to answer. And it's just easier to keep the same trail, the same line with driver familiarisation as well. So thank you for your question, Riain. Hopefully I answered the best I could, but that was a complicated question to answer, I'll be honest with you. Next question comes from Brighton Trainspotter 123. That's if he's on his right account. But he asked me 3 questions. First question is, what is your favourite freight hotspot station? My favourite freight hotspot, I would say, that it's another tough one because there is some good locations for freight. In the Midlands, I would say Water Autumn. Down south, I would say Cheddington. Up north, I don't think I really have one up north, but there is some good locations for freight hotspots, but I would have to go with Water Autumn. And that's being honest with you. And the next 2 questions we're going to answer together because you asked me who's your favourite rail enthusiast and who is your most hated rail enthusiast. And I know it's a question that people would love to know, but I'm not going to answer it because, in fairness, if I start saying favourites and least favourites on here, I'm probably going to get people answering saying, well, why I'm not your favourite? And if I get any people that I hate, I'm probably just going to get this video sent over to them and they're just going to come on and give me some more hate that I don't really need, to be honest. But I don't really have a favourite rail enthusiast. I don't really have a hated rail enthusiast, even though I do hate a few. But I'm not going to answer that question because it's not worth the hassle, believe me. I do have one rule though. If I get along with you and you get along with me, there's no problems. If you're just going to upset me, then I just seriously wipe you away from my life. And that's it really. So hopefully that answers your question, Brighton Trainspotter 123. The next question comes from Sam Blogs Trains and More. And he asked me 3 questions. And the first one's very interesting. What was the first train journey you ever went on? And I'm going to be honest with you, that was a very long time ago. This was when Intercity was running. That's how long ago it was. But I honestly cannot remember. I think it might have been a Class 47 or Class 37. I'm not too sure. I can't remember. I think, if I remember rightly though, the earliest memory I have on a train was one of my brothers was in a pram in the guards compartment, but I don't know what train that is. The first one I can probably remember vaguely was a Class 37. Next question he asked me, can you give me a discount Asda? No. I will actually, where is it? Here. Because I actually have brought my discount cards with me. Because there is an Asda next to Falkirk Rainston station, and when I film at that station, I've got half an hour to wait, so I'm going to pop into that to get some lunch, that's my Asda card. But no, the policy is for discount cards is that I could give you the discount, but I have to be with you, and I have to use the card myself. Because the discount card is used for the person who works there and the nominated user. That's it. So, theory, I can't give you a discount. And the last question he asked me, what is the best video you made? And to be honest with you, tough question because I've made a good videos and I made some really bad videos. Like, I still can't believe the Class 69 video I did when I went to chase it at Stone Kidsgrove got 2,000 views in a week. I still can't believe that. I think that was just pure luck, but then another video a few weeks later reached over 1k subscribers in a week. No, 1k views in a week, sorry. So it is a tough one because I don't know what my favourite video that I made was brilliant, but I made so many I have lost count, so hopefully that answers your question, Sam Blogs Trains and More. Thank you for your question. And now it's time for something completely different because my next 3 questions is from TicoSprinter. Hello Tico. He's asked me 3 questions, and the first question he asked: will you consider visiting your beloved 150 216 at some point? When I go down to places, I don't actually physically go down there to visit a unit. I go down to film the units, and if 150 216 does show up, then that's good indeed. But I don't really physically go down there just to see one unit. I try and film all the trains that pass through. So hopefully we see it at some point in the future, but I don't know when though. Next question asks me, watermelon or banana? Sounds like a Gaeilgeoir question, does it? Tico, watermelon. Simple as that, watermelon. And the last question he asked me, which was question 21. As you asked me this question, how was your experience in meeting up with Gaeilgeoir and TicoSprinter? And to be honest, it was really awesome. In fact, on my birthday, just gone on the 15th of August, Gaeilgeoir actually did came to Rugeley that day to hang out with me because she wanted to give me a present which was sent over by somebody else. And one of the things we did mention was, where's Tico? Are we missing Tico? But no, meeting up with Gaeilgeoir and TicoSprinter that day was brilliant. It was a brilliant day, to be honest, and it was an awesome experience. It was funny, entertaining, and brilliant. So hopefully that answers your question, Tico. The next question comes from Future Trident, and he only asked me one question. What is your favourite abandoned station? And this is a really good question, but I can only narrow it down to 2 disused stations that I've enjoyed visiting. Now the first one was Manchester Mayfield because I was on a Jonathan Schofield tour and it was lovely to go through Manchester Mayfield station, get some photos and so on. The other abandoned station I visited was Derby Friargate station. Now, even though Derby Friargate station was a bit uncomfortable to film at because of the people who were on drugs like around the area, it was still a good location to have a look at the platforms, buildings and so on. But if I got to pick one out of them 2, I would say it's Manchester Mayfield because that was really my first proper explore of a disused railway station. So thank you for your question, Future Trident. The next person that asked me questions is Southern Transport 466 Eden. Now he did ask me 6 questions, but I had to take 1 question away and put it in the multiple questions I answered at the beginning. But he asked me 5 other questions though. So, funniest train journey or train documentary ever, and that's a tough one. That's being honest with you because I've done so many funny ones and I just can't give you a good answer on that one. But I know the Return to Moorgate had some funny stuff in it, and that was done for entertainment purposes. Even some of the stuff today with Cow is done for entertainment purposes because I want to try and mix it with a bit of facts, mix of entertainment and so on. But I can't give you an answer on that one, I'm afraid, because it's just, there was so many funny stuff in there, it's unbelievable. But if you really want a good funny one, I think it's when I came back from York and I had 2 girls on the train and they ended up kissing each other and I just like fainted. Well, I didn't faint, I just pretended to faint, and I think that was funny as hell. There was also one where I kicked a lamppost and just fell on the floor, and I think that was also funny as well. So there was some funny moments, but I can't give you an exact answer of the funniest train journey or train documentary ever. Next question asked me, worst train journey. Now, there is a worst train journey that I did, but it's actually not on a railway journey. This was back during the Central Trains Day because at the time I went on holiday to Skegness when I was younger, and usually caught the train from Uttoxeter, got a taxi up to Uttoxeter, then a train from Uttoxeter to Skegness at the time because they did cruise Skegness. Train got cancelled, so I had to get a replacement bus to Derby. Then I had to get a train from Derby to Nottingham, which was only one Class 153 operated it. And it was rammed as hell. I can't remember after that, to be honest, but I think that's going to be my worst train journey ever. And that was during Central Trains Day. But I think that leads on to question 3 as well, the most uncomfortable train journey, because that's the same kind of uncomfortable as well. But I think I'll give you a different answer to this one, was last year. Because when we had that heat wave and face coverings were mandatory at the time, and this was before I even had this lanyard. And I was on a train heading towards Birmingham that morning, heat wave, and I had a face covering on, and it was so distressful. It really did make me uncomfortable, and I wanted to take it off, but you realise you couldn't because it was the law at the time, and I think that's going to be my most uncomfortable train journey. And then after that, I got the lanyard. It did happen again on the bus that I was like getting uncomfortable again, but it just went to 10 seconds, so that's why I wear the lanyard these days, because it just comforts me. Next question is, most southern train station you have been to? Now, I did look this one up because this was a hard one to answer, but I think the southernest one I've been to is Falmouth, because that's really southern, south of England. I think that's the furthest south as well for a train station. I could be wrong, but I'll have to answer Falmouth Docks on that one for you. And question 5, best joke so far. What joke? No, the best joke so far is sitting right here. Me. But I can't give you an answer to that one because I don't know what you meant by that, sorry. I should have actually incorporated that one. But anyway, thank you for your questions, Southern Transport 466. The next question comes from the Gaming Room UK, and he asked me 3 questions. First of all, he asked me, what's your favourite Abanti West Coast station? Again, this is a tough one. But if I got to pick a favourite Abanti West Coast station, I would just say Stafford, because it is a lovely location on Abanti West Coast operated, and it's a lovely location on the West Coast Main Line. And to answer your favourite London North Western Railway station, I would say Cheddington, because it's a good, lovely part of the West Coast Main Line down south towards London Euston. And I would say Rushy Trent Valley, but that's a bit too obvious, so I'm going to say Cheddington's my favourite London North Western Railway station. And the last question he asked is, what's your favourite song? And the answer is, I don't really have a favourite song. I just listen to anything I like, and if I don't like it, I just don't listen to it. So hopefully that answers your question, the Gaming Review UK, and thank you for your question. Now this next question is from Andrew J. Gilt, and he asked me, was this a good hotel and a good bed? The hotel that I stayed at is St. Eox, and yes, it is a good hotel because it's right next door to St. Eox subway station on the Glasgow subway. And as for a nice bed, there's only one thing I've got to do with this. Yes, it is a nice bed. The next question comes from Simon the Rail Enthusiast 83, and he asked me 3 questions. Question number 1 is, what's the most visited railway station since starting Sim0nTrains railway journeys? Simple really, it's Rushy Town and Rushy Trent Valley, since I start most of my journeys from them. But outside that, I can't really tell you, I'm afraid. Which is the same as your next question. How many railway stations have you visited since starting Sim0nTrains railway journeys? I lost count. I can't really tell you how many stations I've visited because I haven't really counted them and I've really lost count. But I'm guessing it's too many. And the last question asked me, what's your favourite railway station in Scotland? And That's a tough one actually, because there is some good Scottish railway stations, but if I gotta pick one, Preston Pans. It's on the East Coast Main Line, and you get your NER services, you get your Trainspotter Express services, cross country services, and ScotRail services stopping there. But all the rest speed through apart from the ScotRail services, so I would say Preston Pans. Thank you for your question to the Cyber Rail Views, that's 83. If you notice why I'm wearing different shirts, it's because I'm actually filming this on a different day. I'm roughly doing a page per day. But the next question is from Jordan Transport Adventures, and you will see Jordan Transport Adventures during the Scotland holiday. In fact, in 2 questions time, we're actually going to answer one of the questions for somebody. So here's 3 questions. First question, when are you getting married? Into that one because I don't really know. First of all, you got to get a girl. We're not going into that, but I don't know when. Question 2, what is your least favourite operator? That's actually a good question. I'm trying to think on that one, but I know London Midland's probably going to be my least favourite operator because they're the ones that got rid of it was complicated, but they did get rid of the half-an-hour service from Rouge to Birmingham. So I'm going to have to guess it's London Midland. And Iron Brew or another soft drink is question 3. Jordan, it's Iron Brew all the way. I hope that answers your question, Jordan. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you soon in Scotland. The next question comes from Emma Corson. She did ask me about my favourite train, which I mentioned at the start with the joint questions that I did, but she also asked, what do you think of East Midlands Railway? Honestly, I think they're an okay company. Like, I will go into detail with this, but in May, they absolutely had a brilliant timetable that they introduced. It was so brilliant that we managed to get Spondon Station done and fill trains at Spondon in an hour during the off-peak, which is something that I couldn't do before. Unfortunately, after a month that happened, the East Midlands Railway realised, with the delays and cancellation, we can't have this timetable. So they had to reduce the timetable. So if I want to get to like Longport now, I can get there, but I have to have 2 hours at Longport, which is a shame really because I wouldn't mind doing that. But yeah, they had a nice timetable, but unfortunately they realised it's not as good as they thought and they had to reduce it. So I say they're okay company. I hope that answers your question, Emma. Now, this next question comes from Peter Kazakak. I apologise if I really butchered your name there. But he asked me a very intriguing question. Now, before we get started with this, because he did say, since it's a Q&A about hotels. Now, I just want to put this out to everyone, including Peter. This wasn't a question about hotels. Basically, the Sim0nTrains Hotel Q&A was basically a Q&A in a hotel. It could be anything, but the only reason I kept this question is because even I didn't know the answer to this myself. And I found this question out the box and very intriguing to be asked. So his question is, since it's a Q&A about hotels, here's my question. What do they call a full English breakfast in Scotland? Or maybe does it exist north of the border? Now, as I mentioned, I can't answer this one to you because I have no idea myself. But luckily, I do actually have a special guest to answer this for you. So please, take it away, Jordan Stewart. Or Jordan Transport Adventures.
Hello there, Peter. Sorry I can't pronounce your second name, but like your question, what do you want to know about the full English breakfast in Scotland? It does exist in Scotland. We call it a full Scottish breakfast, and the only difference is you get a bit of black pudding with yours, and square sausage, and rolls, not baps like they call them in England. So I hope this answered your question there, Peter, and I'll pass you back to Simon now.
Thanks, Jordan, and I hope that really answers your question, Peter, because I didn't know myself, but luckily I was hanging around with someone from Scotland during my Scotland visit. So this next question comes from Jacob's Rail Adventures, and he's asked me 2 questions. Question 1, tea, coffee or hot chocolate? Now I drink all 3, but if I have to choose one, it's definitely going to be coffee. I do like drinking coffee in the morning, 1 coffee in the morning. I'll probably have a coffee in the afternoon as well, so roughly about 2 coffees a day I have. And question 2 is, are you looking forward to the Class 196 and the Class 730s coming in? Yes. And hopefully when they enter service, I want to try and do a video on them both as well. Don't know how I'm going to play it like, but I'm going to have to play it differently to like a railway journey. Probably going to have to take the video that I did on this 720s for London Overground, learn from that and try and make a video similar to that but totally different, I reckon. So hopefully that answers your question, Jacob's Rail Adventures. Next question comes from CPR1234. I do apologise if my eyes roll off the screen because my laptop is literally right next door to me, so I'm just reading the questions off the laptop. But the questions will appear on the screen as well. So CPR1234 asked me, what do you think of the Class 197 for Transport for Wales? Now, I have seen the train at Riain WR, and they do look nice on the outside. On the inside, I cannot comment on that until I actually see an interior of a Class 197. But at the moment, there are good looking units to look at indeed, and I hope that answers your question, CPR1234. The next question comes from Michael Sebastian Todd, and he asked me 2 questions, and the first question he asked me, what is the most scenic train journey you have ever done? That's a good question because there are some good scenic railway journeys. If I had to pick one, the Carlock-House line or the Kyle line. That is your brilliant scenic rail journey ever. There is some good locations as well, like St. Ides Branch, but the Carlock-House is probably going to be my favourite scenic journey ever. And the other question he asked me, Northern Trains, Hairy Trains or Filthy Buggers? Hairy Trains are the Class 323s and the Filthy Buggers are the Class 319s. Tough question. Really tough question. I can't really... Gonna have to say the 319s. It's a bit of a close call actually, so 319 just like that above the 323. But to be honest though, I actually like them both, but if I have to pick one, 319. And I hope that answers your question, Michael Sebastian Todd. The next question comes from Joshua Platt. Now he did ask me a question about something else, but that got put in the compiled question with... No, he asked me 2 questions about the favourite train and the favourite station, but that got put in the video earlier on when I just answered a load of the same question in one video. But he asked me one question, however, which was different to the other 2. What made you got the interest in being a Trainspotter? Now, the answer to this question is that I've been interested in trains all my life. And this actually ties in with the next question as well from the Trainspotter from Toranga. I hope that's how you pronounce it. Because he also asked me how long you started filming trains. So if you don't mind guys, I'm going to answer this question as one because it's roughly similarities. So basically I started, well, I was into trains ever since I was young, since I was a kid. But what got me into the train spotting thing was because back in 2009 I had a camera, the Samsung ES55, and it was a rubbish camera to be honest. But I wanted to capture the Class 150 DMUs on the chase line and the current scene before it got all changed with the electrification, Class 350s, Class 323s and so on. So originally it was planned to capture as much of the current scene at the time while I had a camera. I remember October the 31st, 2009, I took a photo of Class 150 arriving into Rouge Town. It wasn't a perfect picture, but it was a start. So it was basically to capture the chase line as it was, but then it went all over the place, and it was really brilliant. Looking back at them, and there is some stuff that probably would change, but most of it I wouldn't. So, but yeah, so I did start filming trains though back in 2010, because when I had the camera, you could film with the camera, but it was only, you could film but not take photos. So I basically brought myself a Samsung F40 camera and just started filming, but the quality back then was rubbish to what it's compared now. So hopefully that answers your question, Joshua Platt. I'm going to carry on with the Trainspotter from Touranga's questions, because he also asked me 2 more questions. So the second question he asked, what is it about trains that you like? And this is the most complicated answer you will give, because you just can't describe it. I just like how they move, I just like how they sound, just like travelling on them. It's one of those that is really hard to answer, because you just can't describe it. And that's being honest. Oh, it does rock, by the way, it's a table. You just can't answer that question, because it's just, even I had people not interested in trains ask me why you like trains, and it's like, I just can't give you that answer because I don't know myself. It's hard to explain. But I think it's like the sounds, like the hobby. It's something that I enjoy doing. It's peaceful, relaxing, unless your train gets delayed or cancelled. But I think that's basically the answer I'm going to give. And the final question he asked, what's the greatest train journey you've ever been on? And that's simple, really. Back on April 1st, 2017, I travelled for 8 hours on one train from London King's Cross to Inverness on the Highland Chieftain, on a pair of Class 43 HSTs, and that's probably my best journey ever, because I did that first class, and that first class ticket was £49.50. So I hope that answers your question, the Trainspotter from Tauranga. And I do apologise about adding your question, Joshua Platt's question, because I thought it was better to tie them both in together. So the next 3 questions is from Ruben Ashwell. Now, your first question has confused me a bit, to be honest, and he asked me, what is a route you have most liked to travel on and why? I don't know if you've asked me that as a past contents question, which is what route I've travelled on the most, or is it a route that I have not travelled on yet and I would like to? I think it's that question. But I'll give you 2 answers. If it's a route that I've travelled on the most, it's Stafford to Moose Trent Valley. I've done that probably about 300 times a year, to be honest. If it's a route that I like to do that I haven't been on yet, the Oban line, because I have not been to Oban to clear that part of the line. Question 2 is asked, what is the best Premier to stay in? I don't know on that one, but if it's up to me, it's a Premier Inn that is dirt cheap. I always try to get Premier Inns that are cheap, like this one I'm staying at. From Monday to Saturday, it actually cost me £1. I wish it cost me £1. £145, which is pretty good for being in the city centre for 6 nights, because you probably pay that in just 1 night. And the last question he asked me, would you ever want to go back to Moorgate if you asked permission first? Now, with Moorgate, you don't actually need to get, well, you do get permission first, but you don't have to get it in advance. You just turn up to Moorgate on the day, find the station supervisor's office, and just say to them, look, is it okay to film the trains out Moorgate? If they say yes, fair enough. If they say no, fair enough. But I want to just show up at Moorgate and start filming straight away, because that, what was the mistake of the return to Moorgate actually started. So hopefully that answers your question, Ruben Ashwell. So the next question I got asked is from Ewan Marshall 2010. He only asked me 1 question. He goes, since you're in Scotland, may I ask you this? Taybridge or Forthbridge? Now, I can't really give you a proper answer to that because I have not seen them from the ground level. But if I got to say one, I would say the Forth Bridge because it just is spectacular. I've seen like photos of it. I've been over it, but I haven't seen it in person from ground level. But I would say Forth Bridge. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Lee and Ash's channel because even though they did ask me questions, it was basically what is your favourite train, what is your favourite UK station. I had to put down the compiled list at the beginning, so they didn't ask me any questions apart from those two. So I do apologise that I'm not going to give you a one-to-one question answer on those questions, but I did put them at the start of the video because I just thought it easier to compile them together. But I'll give a special shout out to Lee and Ash's channel. Please go subscribe to them. As a way, I apologise that I can't answer your question one-to-one. Right, the next 3 questions come from Riain Gaeilgeoir, and if I seriously butchered that name, I do apologise. But he asked me 3 questions, and the first question is, what are some of your favourite railway journeys or places you see outside the UK? It's a very good question because I have been out the UK. I've done Germany, I've done Belgium, I've done the Netherlands. I've done a bit of France actually as well. My favourite railway journey though, I would recommend... that is a tough one. That is a tough one because I did so many journeys and I just can't think of one. If I got to pick a favourite though, I think it would be from Antwerp Central to Roosendaal. That part of the line is pretty good, especially when you get into the Netherlands and it just opens up into countryside. When you leave Antwerp Central, or Antwerpen Central, it's industrial, then it goes into countryside into the Netherlands, and I think that might be my favourite part of the journey, but I don't really have a favourite to be honest. That's just the first thing that came to my head, which I do apologise. Now this next question is an absolute brilliant of a question he's asked me. If you were a CEO of Network Rail, what would you love to see improved or scrap about the railways in England? Now if I was the CEO of Network Rail, well, I don't know how it operates to be honest, because Network Rail would basically only take care of the track. But I would like to see some lines restored actually to how they were. But I don't think that's a Network Rail decision, that's like the government's decision and all that. So, what would I love to see? That is a really tough question. I'd like to see some more branch lines come back on the railway maps, like especially finish off the Waverley route from Tweedbank to Carlisle. I would love to see that come back. I would love to see the line from Northampton to Harrogate by Ripon come back. I think they're 2 good examples. Also, I'd love to see services of the Camp Hill line come back, even though that is going to happen. So I'm guessing that's going to be interesting. But an idea that I have, I'll actually share this idea actually, because this is probably what I would like to improve on to see it helps right. Is actually use a bit of the Rouge B power station track and join it onto the West Coast Main Line. So just north of Rouge Trent Valley Station is actually a triangle junction. Because then that would help divert Avanti West Coast services if something happens at Rugeley to divert onto the Chase line, so it's a diverging route. Go through Walsall and then turn off a Plett to go towards Wolverhampton that way. And then on to Stafford. That would be an improvement that I would love to see, but that ain't going to happen. Last question is, what would you choose as part of a £3 meal deal from the supermarket? 2 choices: a sandwich, packet of crisps, iron brew or any fizzy drink, or a sandwich, maybe some finger liquors. Oh, I can't remember what they're bloody called. Fridge Raiders, that's what I was thinking of. I had to look it up, so I had to stop filming. But I was looking it up because my mind just went blank. So hopefully that answers your question, Riain. And again, apologise if I butchered your name. The next question comes from a gentleman who has multiple YouTube channels that I just honestly can't catch up which one he's on. Now, he answered his question under Mr. YouTube Man, but his latest channel is On the Buses, Channel Fan 2. But I know this person's name, and his name is Sam Harding. And he basically asked me one question. He said, favourite hotel? And to be honest, there's only two answers I can give to you on that one. Premier, which is where I'm staying at, or Travelodge. So hopefully that answers your question, Mr. YouTube Man. The next three questions come from David Ramsey. He asked me, have you thought about doing more onboard journeys report type videos? Now, honestly, I know Geno's Trains does some onboard night videos with the units or the locomotives. I know Dylan Travel Report and Paul Lucas, they do that kind of video, but me personally, no. It's not something that I like to do, but however though, I actually do want to do it actually, because in December, when London North Eastern Railway run their Middlesbrough to King's Cross service, I'm actually on the first working out of Middlesbrough. I wanted to do that as a separate video. So doing an on-board video like that is yes, I will be doing one. How I'm going to do it though, not too sure. The next question is McDonald's or KFC? KFC. Because the KFC gravy is awesome. And so is their barbecue bites as well. I've recently just started eating them and they are absolutely brilliant. And the last question he asked me, is there anything on the UK railways that you have never done? I haven't travelled to Oban, so I would love to travel to Oban one day. Mallaig. I think that's about it. So thank you, David Ramsey, for your questions. The next three questions come from Daniel's Trades UK, and he's asked me these three questions. First question is, what is your favourite part of the UK, like England or Scotland, do you like filming trains? Scotland, I would say Preston Pans on the East Coast Main Line. I did a YouTube shorts from Preston Pans and you can see why, because I like the curve when they come round into the station, and on the other side it's a nice long straight. In England, it's Northampton. I know I mentioned that earlier when I started the Q&A, but also it's do apologise if my voice is going a bit. I've just done a 2-hour live stream, which was good, by the way. If you watched that live stream, thank you for watching that. Just want to put that in. But in England, it's, I don't know, because that question is a bit hard, because there's good locations, there's bad locations. But if I had to pick one, I've been to Stenson Junction once, that's a good location. North of Rushi Trent Valley is a good location. So there's some good locations, but I hope that answers that question. Question 2, he asked me, what's your favourite branch line? That's actually a good question. It's a very good question. I know it won't be the Stourbridge branch line, because that's got 139 and I don't like them. I would have to say the Exmouth branch, I would say, because that has some lovely views down towards Exmouth. And the last thing he asked me, what are you planning to do? Are you planning to do any charter trains? Do you have a favourite ones you ever done? future charter trains, not at the moment, no. My favourite one was 2 Stallion Black 5s coming through for the Flying Scotsman. And when they were coming back to Manchester Victoria, it was just lovely how they came back in the dark. You could see the fire lit, you could see the smoke coming out. That was brilliant, that was. So hopefully that answers your questions, Daniel Trains UK. Thank you for sending your questions in. The next question comes from Oscar Kirk, and he's asked me this question. Have you ever considered going to
Clan via Pith Gwyngyth Gaeilgeoir Windrobeth Linticilio Gog.
Yeah, because I'm not going to say that. Landfair PG. And if you have been, would you recommend it? Sorry you've already have and I missed it. I have. I've actually been to Landfair PG. I did it once a couple of years ago, 2017 I think, to get some Class 56s on some railhead treatment trains. And would I recommend it? Yeah, it is a good location. Brilliant place to film trains. Even though there's not much trains, but it is a brilliant location. So hopefully that answers your question about
Clan via Pith Gwyngyth Gaeilgeoir Windrobeth Linticilio Gog.
because I ain't going to pronounce that. But anyway, thank you Oscar Kirk for your question. Really much appreciated. The next 2 questions come from James Glossop. And he's asked me, are there any trains that you would do reviews of, for example, the Class 730s? Now, I know David Ramsey asked me this question, but it's like, I don't really want to do that kind of video. But I am planning to do that kind of video. Because yes, I want to do a review of the 730s. Shut up. Sorry, just my laptop. Beep, beep, beep. I want to do a review of the Class 730s. I want to do a review of the Class 196. May do one of the 777s, but don't know yet. And then there's that journey that I want to do from Middlesbrough to London King's Cross in December. That I want to do something for that as well. And the other question he's asked me, would you ever go down to the Isle of Wight and film the trains there? I know they're getting new ones, yes. They're getting the Class 484s. And yes, I want to go to the Isle of Wight. It's one place that I want to go to, but I really haven't had the chance to go to. So to answer that question, yes, I want to go to the Isle of Wight. Thank you for your 2 questions, James. Now this next question I'm actually doing on my iPhone because Jack Allwood asked me one question. He goes, hey Simon, what camera do you use to film your videos? Now most of the Q&A was done on this camcorder that I've got here. But I can't actually show you the camcorder if I'm answering his question. So that's why I'm doing it on my phone. But this is the Gaeilgeoir HFR806. And it's a lovely little camcorder. I use this Gorilla Pod as well when I'm vlogging. So basically when I'm vlogging, you actually see me going like this. In fact, I'll switch it on now. So I'm actually like this when I'm vlogging. And it is kind of good. And plus you can set it up so you can do like shots when you're walking by. But unfortunately though, it does pop out time to time and I probably need to get a better Gorilla Pod. But that's hopefully answers your question. I use the Gaeilgeoir RF806. And for my photos, I've actually used this Sony camera. I think it's Sony CyberShot. Yes, it actually has CyberShot on it. So I use this to take my photos, and also sometimes actually I use my iPhone to actually film as well, some videos. So hopefully that answers your question, Jack Allwood. Thanks for sending in that question. The next 3 questions come from 802107. Now I'm sure he's asked me a question about what my favourite train is, but I've already answered that already. So the 3 questions he got here that are not duplicate questions. First of all, it says, and how are you looking to improve the channel going forward? That's actually a tough question, because I would like to improve myself with the channel, but sometimes it's like, how can you improve it? Because, especially with the blogs, one day you can have a really good blog, the next day it bombs. The next one. But I think it's just trying to improve myself with my videos. Try and get editing improved. Like, I'm improving the videos because I'm trying to speak less, more action. But how I'm going to improve, I honestly couldn't tell you right now, but I do want to try and improve the channel. But I don't know how I'm going to improve it yet. Next question. Are you ever going to do a video with Ian in again and go back to 2012 days? Right. 2012 days? No. That's out the question. The reason is because there's young people watch this. Now, when I did the 2012 stuff, there was young people watching, and some people actually said you should not be doing that because young people are watching. But though there was a woman sometime last year, and it said a 3-year-old always watches my videos. So if I started swearing or going crazy there, it's not a good idea. Videos with Ian, no. There is personal reasons which I can't go into. But all I've got to say is that one person has to stay in the house at all times. And unfortunately, if Ian goes out filming, sometimes I might have to stay behind. But if I go out filming, Ian has to stay behind. I can't really go into detail because it's a bit private matter, but the answer to that question is no. There won't be me and Ian together. Plus, these days, even like if Ian came on holiday with me to this Scotland trip, we like to do our own things as well. So I go off somewhere on my own, and he'd probably go to Buchanan bus station to film the buses. But no, that's not going to happen. It might happen in the future, because I know we did a live stream together on my channel, but at the moment, no, I'm afraid. And the last question is, hope you're okay. Yes, I am, thank you. So, thank you 802107 for your questions. The next 5 questions come from Jack Allen Trainspotter. First question asked me, Gaeilgeoir, National Express East Coast Train, Virgin Trains East Coast, or London North Eastern Railway. Which one will I choose? I knocked 2 off straight away. Gaeilgeoir, National Express East Coast. I don't know what they were like, so I can't really comment on them, I'm afraid. So that leaves East Coast Trains, Virgin Trains East Coast, or London North Eastern Railway. And to be honest, I will go with Virgin Trains East Coast if I have to choose one. Because during that time it's when I did the Highland Chieftain from King's Cross to Inverness, and the first class was really nice actually. So I'd have to pick Virgin Trains East Coast. The next question asked me, if you brought back a railway operator, what would it be? Regional railways. That's a simple answer, regional railways. The third question, would you come to Thorn South and North one day with me? Right, this question, don't get me wrong, it's a good question, but I have to get something off my chest with this one, because it's not. There's a load of people that ask me, will you come to Halifax, will you come to this station, will you come to this station, and so on. Now, to be honest, this goes out to everyone, this does. As a content creator, and I know there's other YouTubers that get asked this as well, will you visit this place, we love to, but we want to do it at our own time. So, go to Thorn South and North, yes I would love to, but I want to do it on my own time when I feel comfortable doing it because I don't want to be pressured into visiting these places because then the blogs are just going to be rubbish. And it's not just me this happens to, it happens to most of the content creators on YouTube. But I'm not naming any, but we love to do the videos for you, but we want to do them so we can enjoy it, so we get the best out of us. Because if you want to tell us somewhere, like, for example, someone says, can you do Halifax? Eventually it will do, yes, even though I've done it plenty of times before. But I want to do it on my own time, so we can make the video good on YouTube. So, I don't mean to have a go at anyone, but that's just something that needs to be get off my chest and to be brutally honest with you all. The fourth question is, would you go on the tram train in Rotherham? Yes. I haven't done it yet. I have seen them, but I would like to do that ride one day. I don't know when though, but the perfect good thing is also with the Sheffield Supertram is that it's the only tram company that accepts this, bus passes. So I could do the Sheffield Supertram for absolutely nothing. And the last question he asked me, Class 195s or Class 331s? Tough question. Basically they're the same body shell, one's diesel, one electric. I would say the 195s. Because they got more... A diesel engine's got more character than an electric engine. Well, electric multiple units, sorry. So we'll go for 195s. But I hope that answers your questions, Jack Allen Trainspotter. Thank you for your questions. So the next two questions come from West London Transport and Wildlife. And he's asked me these two questions. What is the worst moment you had when filming at a station, e.g. a job's worth telling you to stop filming or terrible weather? Right, first of all, if a person tells me to stop filming at the railway station, you got to, even though it's annoying because you just want to film, but you got to be halfway with them. So not really job's worth it. Sometimes they might be doing that because it's their job to inform you that you can't film. Even though it's complicated, won't get into it. But the worst moment is what I just talked about, the live stream that I did today. Because I won't get into too much detail, but it would happen at Gaeilgeoir Station on the 19th of August 2021. And this was during my Scotland trip. But I don't see this as a worst moment, but it was one of those moments that I did really feel it had me in tears at the end of it. But there was a guy at Gaeilgeoir Station that was distressed, had mental problems, and I think he had suicidal thoughts as well. And me and my friend Jordan were trying to have a chat with him. We just kept quiet while he chatted all the way. But luckily we managed to get him on the train to Wishaw, and he got off the train at Wishaw no problem, so he could see some help. But I think that would be classed as one of my worst moments. But it wasn't filmed though, because I didn't want to film it. Be very disrespectful, and it'd be bad publicity for my videos. And when something like that happens, it's like, no. I do this for a hobby, but it's stop filming. Really focus on what the person has to say. But I don't see that as the worst moment, but it's one of those moments that's going to be with my head for a long while. Secondly, he asked me, will you miss seeing the Class 323s, the Class 350-2s, or the Class 70s once they're all gone and replaced by the new 196 and 730s? The 323s, yes, I will miss them. But yeah, I can just go over to Manchester and film them up there. The 350/2s, yes, get rid of them. They're just commuter trains. Class 1 Serities, yes, I will probably miss them as well, to be honest. So, 2 out of the 3 I will miss. The 350/2s, I want to miss them, to be honest. So hopefully that answers your question, London Transport and Wildlife. Thank you for your questions. The next 2 questions come from Nathan Play Games. And the first question asks me, oh god, what do you think of HS2? We're going to have to answer this, am I? Right, okay, just joking aside, seriously, build it. I know there's a lot of anti-HS2 people that don't want to see it built, but the problem is too late, it's already started building now, so really it is going ahead. Secondly, you do need HS2 because the West Coast Main Line at the moment, especially to Birmingham, is a bottleneck. And if you free up trains for HS2, you're going to free up trains for the West Coast Main Line. So, even though it may be a complete waste of money, it's one of those routes you do need. Alternatively, you're going to have to quadruple the main line, but you're going to have to build a load of new stations, you're going to have to build a load of remodified stations. So, just building a new high-speed line is better than quadrupling the current West Coast Main Line. But people think that it's going to be expensive, it's going to be for the rich, but we don't know till it happens. Like, there is a load of theories about HS2, and this is why it gets so much negative. But the problem is, you do need that route to free up the West Coast Main Line so you can have more freight trains on it, more services. It's painstaking, but I reckon it's going to be beneficial at the end. And the other question is, when can you do the 5-circle line up to Markinch again? I've been to Markinch, I filmed this on the 20th of August. I've been to Markinch on the 19th of August. So Markinch and some fire stations have been filmed on my Scotland trip, so they are coming up soon on Sim0nTrains Railway Journeys. And I hope that answers your question, Nathan Play Games. This next question comes from Pep EMU fan. He asked me the one question: what do you think of the paces being preserved? It's a good idea. I know people don't like pacers, people like pacers, but they did have a good following towards the end. And preserving pacers is... they are controversial units, but that's why people love them. People hate them because they are controversial units. But they are the workhorses of the railways. And seeing some preserved would help to keep that workhorse of the railways in flow. And pacers being preserved, yeah, I would love to see more pacers being preserved. Because they are iconic in a controversial way. So I think it's a good idea preserving pacers. So thank you for your question, Peppy MU fan. So the second to last question is from Dave the Rave 562. He's asked me 4 questions actually. The first question is, did you ever get to the bottom of Minty Ginty reference to the awards from 2012? Truth or honest, no. Never got to the bottom of it. I've never really bothered to look at it, I'm afraid. So I never got down to the bottom of it, I'm afraid. So the answer is no. Question 2. What's next for Simon and what are your future plans? Future plans I don't know, because these days with this pandemic going on, you got to make it up as you go along. So I could plan to in like 2 or 3 days in advance, and sometimes I could be planning this the night before I actually film it, the journey. However, though, there is some future plans that I can say. Is that I did mention in the blog when I went back to Kidderminster that I'm planning to be at the Seven Valley Autumn Steam Gala. Now, I have noticed they have changed it so you can hop on and hop off now, but I'm still probably only going to plan there to be one day just filming the trains at Kidderminster because the ticket is absolutely £35. But the ticket was a bit steep for my liking, so I think it's just best if I stay at Kidderminster, film the trains in and out. There is a future plan for December, which I am planning to be on the first London North Eastern Railway service from Middlesbrough to London King's Cross, and I got that ticket for £13.55. That is booked. The hotel is already booked for that day. It's just getting up there from Sunday. So there will be a different kind of video in the future. There is other videos I got planned in the pipeline as well, which I will be filming next month in September. So I just say watch out for this for now. But the format at the moment, I think the Scotland videos are going up on Sundays. They might be premiered as well. So I'll be with the chat with you watching them. And then midweek videos is going to be something else that I'm going to tie in differently. So I don't know what the future plans are, but hopefully that should help with some future plans. The next question he asked me, my friend Steve has a birthday soon, which is in September. He's a fan of your channel. Any chance you could do a shout out? So if you watch this, Steve, have a good happy birthday. I know it's a bit early, but hope you have a good birthday. And hopefully, hello Steve. Hopefully you enjoyed this video as well. And the fourth question is, do you still harbour negative feelings towards cross country and the class 220s voyages? Yes, because they're not, well, not at the moment, because the class 220s are actually coupled to another either class 220 or class 221 at the moment, so they are strengthened the cross country services, but with a 4-car on its own, yeah, I still have negative feelings because they're not suitable for the Anglo-Scottish services, but they are suitable for the Nottingham Cardiffs, I would say, and there has been some that dropped on that recently. So hopefully that answers your question, Dave the Rave 562, and a special shout out to Steve, and hopefully you enjoy your birthday in September. Our final question comes from Instagram. Now, I did ask this on Instagram, but to be honest with you, it actually just bombed. There was only one person that answered it, and he was the person that asked me this over Instagram as well. So let's try Instagram, see if we get some questions off Instagram. It bombed. But JD Kirk asked me 2 questions. Now, one of the questions he asked, I had to put it with the collated stuff at the start. But the other question he asked, actually, I did answer this one. What got you into YouTube? Well, no, I did answer this earlier, but I'll answer this again. What got you into YouTube and train spotting? Well, to go back from Joshua Platt and the Trainspotter from Touranga's question, basically because I was interested in trains when I was younger, and back in 2009 when I had a camera, I wanted to start getting photos from the chase line before the signal box disappeared, before the power station disappeared, when the sprinters were on the chase line with the Class 170 turbo star, so just wanted to capture the now. As for YouTube, I just wanted to upload a few videos and just for fun, like a hobby, but then I started adding more videos, and then in 2012 was when I started the blogs, which the Sim0nTrains Railway Journeys, which I still cringe over. So what got me into YouTube is I was just basically uploading videos as a hobby. Because you got to remember, with YouTube, there's 2 ways. Some people do this for a living, and some people do this for a hobby. And to be honest, I actually do this for a hobby more than a living. Okay, yes, I do make money off YouTube, but it's actually not triple figures. It's actually only double figures. But hopefully that answers your question, JD Kirk. And I know it got answered earlier on with Joshua Platt's question and the Trainspotter from Touranga's question. And that is the end of the Q&A. I hope I answered your questions the best as I could. I know there were some interesting ones, some ones that were hard to answer. And thank you for sending those questions in. They have really been good. So if you did like this Q&A, I might do one in December at Christmas time. But we'll see how it goes. But feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. If you think some of those questions were like disagreeable, feel free to mention them down below. If you agreed with those questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and I will probably do another Q&A in December time. Stay safe, take care.